Welcome everyone. Happy Thursday and welcome to the RLT Pivot Podcast. Today, Dan and I are going to be discussing setting the bar, expectations, goals, motivations, all that kind of thing. So what we want to do actually is invite you guys to start asking us questions, and we're going to address those questions as we move along throughout the day today. So type those into the chat. We're going to be paying attention to them. And let's start changing some ways that we think. All right. How does that sound? How about you, Dan?
That is beautiful. Glad to be back again with you, Tracy. Loving the podcast so far. Hope you guys are as well. This entire podcast is about setting the bar. And people have expectations from I'm not going to make anything in the market to I'm going to be a millionaire in an hour and a half. So it's a very strange concept, but the expectations when trading, when getting in, starting day one of what I could do, and even like, hey, what's my weekly goal? What's my monthly goal? How am I going to look in a year? How am I going to buy a new mansion with my expectations? And expectations are great to have. They're perfect, but they can also pretty much ruin your trading career if you're just not expecting the right things and over aggressively trading to hit certain goals, just putting way too much risk on the line just so you could hit your arbitrary goal that you've created in your head. So that's what this entire podcast is going to be focused on today. So basically, when you started, Tracy, what was your expectations? What was the world telling you before you got into it?
Oh man, I thought my life was going to change like 360 degree, well, 180 degree anyway. I thought for sure that it was going to life changing. That was what I was expecting, but in a short time. And that was quickly realized that that's not going to be the case. Again, like I said, you see all that romanticized advertisement of what it's like to trade and think that all you got to do is, hit it big once and you're a multimillionaire. And boy, the truth hurts sometimes, but hey, once you get your expectations in alignment, it then all of a sudden things started to really kick off. But how about you? And before you start to answer me, again, I want to invite any of you guys, if you guys have current expectations that you're finding aren't being met right now, or maybe you had expectations as a new trader that just never got met and you had to do a little bit of a pivot in your thought, please share with us. Let us know. Throw that in the chat so we can talk about it, and other people can benefit from your experience, and maybe we can help you get through some of the struggles that you're having right now. So like I said, Dan, how about you?
Yeah, so the strange thing is, I had the same expectations. Like, my life is going to change completely. The weird thing about that is it actually has. It might not be in the same sense of getting start from day one and hit $1 million and things like that. But I would 100% say my life is 100% changed from when I started trading. And in both the trading aspect, the financial aspect, but then just also the way I think about life, the way I think about money now compared to how I thought about it before is 100% different. It was, I had a mentality of scarcity prior to trading. Like, money, when you don't have money, you're just thinking of like, hey, how can I get money? Like, what's money going to do? And you don't want to spend the money on education or take a course or something like that, because you're like, well, I don't want to spend that money when I could use it for something else. And when you shift your mentality of things, of what you're thinking, and you have more of an abundance mindset where you're in a trade and you know what, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if you're following your plan, you're taking your setups, it's fine. And once you control your risk, you're gradually growing. You're going to win some trades, you're going to lose some trades, but if you see progression in the account and over time, you give yourself enough time, your life will change. It will 100% change for you. So yes.
When you say abundance mindset, Dan, what exactly do you mean by that?
So when you have a scarcity mindset, every dollar you make you're thinking, man, I'm going to lose it, or I don't have enough money, so I don't need to spend it. When you have an abundance mindset, you already materialize that the money's there. And if the money is like if you lose it on something, there's trillions of dollars trading in the market every single day. I mean, you'll get it back. It's not the end of the world. If I lose one trade, my life is not ruined forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have the abundance of, like, the money is out there, and it's just when you have that little paradigm shift in your thinking, your mentality, the money actually comes to you a lot easier, a lot quicker, because you're not so concerned about the losses. You can't win. You can never hit a 2R trade if you always sell out at a 0.2R win. And for you guys that are not familiar with real life trading, the R system, we will do a whole podcast on that. But that is the risk that we're taking. So if you're risking $100 on a trade, and your goal is to get 2 to 1, so you want to try to hit $200, let's say, on that trade. But every
Mm-hmm.
single time you're selling out because the market popped a little bit, you made $20, you're like, cool, I'm taking it. That's the scarcity mindset. That's the I now have $20, I don't want to lose it. But you're never going to hit your 2R target. So for me, it was that little shift that helped out my trading immensely. And then,
Mm-hmm.
but that mindset also, oddly enough, it applies to outside the market too. Just things that you do you could contribute more money to charity on an abundance mindset, because cool, yeah, I'm going to help out some other people. I'm going to give them some money to, take care of people with the blessings that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a scarcity, like, I can't donate to this charity, I need the money myself. It's just a different mindset. And you see, the more you reach out, the more you enrich other people's lives, the more that ends up coming back to you in the long run.
So true, so true. And I guess I worded a little bit differently, because I think the paradigm shift for me was recognizing that I'm playing to win, not playing versus playing not to lose. Right?
Yeah.
So,
right.
And that goes with everything in life, right? If you throw those obstacles in your way before you even get there, you're guaranteed to have a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you won't lose, but you never win, right?
Right. Well, you might lose too. you have one bad trade on the scarcity mindset. That wipes out 5 good trades that you had.
I meant being completely defensive, right? So
right, 100%.
Yeah.
So what would your goals be? So if you were, I know you've been trading for a while and you're just an absolute killer and a beast trader, but and thinking about how you started and your mindset when you did start to compare it to now, if you were to go back, what would be realistic goals that you should set for yourself? And what's some of the motivations that you would set, being Tracy Ball, the killer trader, knowing what you know now, and to give that advice to somebody else?
It's such a great question. And thinking about it, I think what I would do, and I would recommend everybody do, we kind of touched on this last week, but starting with your why, starting with the end in mind. Work your way backwards. That's something that I never really did when I first started. It was kind of, okay, well, I'll start this. And I just started to kind of wander around in the dark, not really knowing where I was going or what I was doing. But if you really think about why you're doing it, what you want to accomplish, have those goals set in mind, then you can start working backwards. And from there, you can start making littler goals or smaller goals and breaking it down into something that's a little bit more achievable. But you it's kind of like setting a destination. I want to travel across the United States. So I want to start in California and I want to end in Miami. And that's the goal. That's the big goal for me. But what do I want to do along the way? I want to stop at, a bunch of diners along the way and visit them. And I want to stop here and visit these places. And you kind of map out your route, but at least you know where you're going. And I think that makes it a little bit easier, because you can, having that goal and having that end in mind, keeps you focused, it keeps you accountable, it keeps you honest, and it keeps you motivated. And that's kind of what this whole thing is about right now that we're talking about. So that's what I would say. How about you?
Yeah, I would say, so very similar to it. I mean, everybody's goal is the big picture. So if your goal is, hey, I want to get that house, right? Or I want to quit my 9-to-5 job. My boss is the worst, and I don't know how he got in the position he is, and I need to leave. But I also need to obviously be financially stable to do something like that. Otherwise, you kind of just feel trapped in the situation. And if you love your job, stick with it. I mean, you have the freedom to do whatever you want to do, by all means. And there's ways to trade the market and still keep your job and stuff like that. So by all means, but you want to look at, this is my big picture, but you have to give yourself reasonable miniature goals, right? Some
Mm-hmm.
kind of accomplishments. So if it was day one again for me trading, and when I started, I would say I was definitely focused on the big picture, but on a smaller time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Time is also abundant. Like yes, everybody has a certain expiration date on their life, but that's a long time. Like, so you
Mm-hmm.
don't need to have the house today. You don't need to quit your job today. You would love to do both of those, but you don't need to, right? So
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't figure it out and you don't learn to trade and you don't, and whether it's trading or any other simple goal that you're doing, if you give up, you're never going to achieve that. And so every single day that you put your foot forward and say, I'm going to accomplish this mini goal, you're taking a big step. It's a small goal, but a big step toward what your dream is and what your bigger picture goal is. So if every day, my goal would be, I want to learn something new about the market, right? I want to learn a new pattern, and it's kind of learn and apply. So
Mm-hmm.
if I learn what a hammer means, or what the sentiment is behind it, or a bullish engulfing candle, or a technical that I like, even if it's buying off support, selling at resistance, being able to draw the support lines where the resistance is, just one piece of knowledge a day, and then go back, spend some time, back trade it. You guys could back trade for free on TradingView, which will give you candles as they're forming type situations. But if you're able to do that, and then the next day grow on it, improve on it, and then just kind of do that. Once you learn the setups, the money will come, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
once the money comes, you're much further ahead of quitting that job, or buying that house, or getting in that new car, or sending your kids to school, or whatever the situation, getting yourself out of debt. So all of that, it's achievable. It's just one step at a time. And by learning something every day, I think would be the biggest goal. It's not even make a single dollar in the market on day one. It's you're coming in with a clean slate. Learn something about the market. Learn what you like to trade, how you like to trade, what type of time frame you like to trade on, and that's all going to play into your mindset as to, I accomplished this. Now I'm able to apply that. Let me learn something new, build on that, get those building blocks up, and then you're starting to trade. Um, I've seen traders too many times just come in and, oh man, this setup, I keep taking this one hammer and it's not working. Great. You learned about the hammer. Now learn to apply it. How to use it better. What setups can you
Mm-hmm.
use it in? And once you get comfortable with it, then you're starting to see, wow, you know what? I'm hitting 6 out of 10 trades, 7 out of 10 trades. I'm making more than I lose on trades. I'm seeing that progression in the account. That
Mm-hmm.
is a huge sign of confidence. Once you see from day one, you're starting to see that progression build in the account.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Edward just asked, how do you guys control fear when the markets are dropping? And, this plays right into expectations and goals and motivations. Now, fear is based out of a lack of understanding. Fear is based out of a lack of knowledge, all that kind of stuff. So if we can all agree on that, then we can agree that if you are prepared and you have a better understanding of what to expect, that will definitely help with the fear. So what I mean by that is by, going through the motions and learning what you need to know, learning about the markets, doing that education and preparing, and then having a plan in place, knowing and having that expectation that you're not going to win every trade, and having the expectation that the markets do pull back, have an understanding that the markets do retest support and resistance. All of those things start to become comfortable for you because you're used to it, and you only develop that through back trading and practice and exposure to the markets. So really it takes time. So to answer your question, it's by having a plan, testing that plan, and knowing what to expect. So when I see, for instance, in a trade, and I see the market pulling back, I'm not afraid at all. First of all, I know what my risk is. I've prepared to take that risk. I'm prepared to lose on the trade because I went in with the expectation that I'm not going to win every trade, and this might turn out to be a loser. But I also have an understanding of the market well enough to know that it's allowed. It's a breathing entity that can move up and down and up and plan down, and that's quite all right. It's actually healthy for it. And if you can change the way that you think about that, then those little pullbacks are no longer scary. And if you know that your plan works, again, it makes it less fearful. So I'm hoping that answers your question, Edward. But you guys, please, ask us if we're not making sense, or if you have any further questions, just ask about it. But how do you want to talk, or what would you say, Dan?
Yeah. So, and Edward asked a follow-up question: how long does it take for you both to get over your fear? I think you hit the nail on the head. Fear is just an emotion, right? Fear is just, what are you afraid of? I'm afraid of losing all my money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have stops in place, right? So I would say make sure anytime you take a trade, you have some kind of stop, you have some kind of plan. A lot of times traders get in, and that goes right back to expectations. Why would you take a trade if you think it's going to be a loser,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everybody that takes a trade is expecting it to win. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't place that trade in the first place. So it's good to have the expectation as to, yeah, I think the trade could go here and here. That's perfectly fine. But what if it doesn't, right? Have the plan for the what if it doesn't, and almost assume that it won't. So if you get into a trade and you're like, oh, man, I can't sleep at night. I'm carrying this one overnight. It's a swing trade. I'm building a position, and just what if the market tanks, or what if, just take a breath. If that happens, and that is going to cause a serious financial problem in your life, there's a huge chance you're just overexposed in that position, and you're risking way more than you could handle. So risk, you don't need a lot of shares to make a lot of money, and just take your time. So if your risk on the trades are just too much, scale out a little bit, take some profits, take some partials, things like that. We're always thinking of, and it's human nature that we're always just thinking of the positives. It's going to shoot. I'm going to get in, and it's going to go Tesla, and it's going to go 880% in a year, and I don't have to worry. Even during that 880% during the year that Tesla grew last year, there was pullbacks. There was news that came out. There was uncertainty. There was the what ifs. If you cannot handle the what ifs, scale down your positions, reanalyze where you're at, and keep the stops in place. And if you get stopped out and you take a loss, most people just set up mindset wise of, I don't want to take a loss. Like, I can't take a loss. Why not? It's okay. You're allowed to take losses. You need to take the losses in order to see the progression in the account. You're not going to hit every trade. So if something comes out in the market and just goes crazy and berserk, it's a part of trading. But if you have the plan going in and you're able to control the fear, you're already well aware of what the downside could be. There's only upside to go from there.
You're right. And the other thing, if you are just learning, you set your R small enough that basically you're paying for an education right now. So if you can switch that mindset so that you know that, okay, with every trade, it doesn't matter whether it's a winner or a loser, there is something to be learned. And if you set your R up so that what the max that you can lose on any trade is something comfortable for you, that you can afford to lose it, and expect that you're going to be losing so that you can pay for your education. If you can kind of twist it that way and alter that thinking, it makes it a lot better. You actually are okay with the losses because you learn something, and it gets you that much closer to being a better trader. It gets you that much closer to being a rock star of a trader, actually, because you've exposed yourself to many different opportunities and many different learning opportunities instead of seeing just the same winning. And then when that winning trade stops working or the conditions change, all of a sudden you don't know, you've never seen it before. So getting exposed to a whole bunch of things and experience of what that loss felt like and looked like, those are all great things. So welcome them with open arms, because it's just going to make you smarter and better as a trader.
Yeah. And Adrian asked as well, how do you improve discipline with rules? So number one, perfect that you have rules. I've known lots of traders that have zero rules. Write out the rules, write out your goals, write out your mini steps. Edward responds, he says, yeah, have severe punishments for your plan. Yeah, absolutely. Have some kind of, like, if I break a rule, I got to do this. We've had people eat onions and things like that I've seen. Mainly, I mean, what happens when you break your own rule? Like, why is the rule there?
Mm-hmm.
It's one out of 10 times, if you break your rule, that trade's going to work out, and you're gonna be like, see, I told it, I knew it was going to turn around, it was going to reverse. I knew I could have got this trade in. At the end of the day, you still broke your rule. And the other 9 out of 10 times, even more so than the punishment itself, you're taking a step backwards on your plan. Like, it's almost like, why have the plan in the first place? So it is something to try to stay disciplined on. It could be tricky sometimes. It could be tough. Like, there could be trades you're like, oh, this looks like the perfect setup, but I've already lost that certain amount that I need to, that the max loss for the day or for the week or the month or whatever the case is. And it's hard because I want to get that money back or whatever the case is. You got to stick to the plan, because what happens is you take that extra trade, and if it doesn't work, again, everyone has the expectation that it's going to work. But if it doesn't, you're in a way worse position, and you need a lot more trades now. You need something to run much further to just get you back to where you were. So
Yeah.
it's about building that little pyramid up in your life, and just kind of knowing that every time you break the rule, there's a something in your brain that needs to be kind of triggered, and that's the point of the discipline, is the fact that every time that happens, you just have a negative thought in your head, or negative physical reaction to something. If something is hot, you don't touch it anymore, right? Because you've learned once from touching something hot. So if you get the mindset of like, my goal is this is my dream, this is what I want to do, every time I break the rule, that's actually taking me away from my goal. Otherwise, again, why would you have the plans? What are your thoughts on that, Tracy?
Well, you know what? I'm going to ask this. When you get a job from somebody, do you test that getting fired line? Do you go out and you go, okay, well, you know what? If I don't do my job, chances are I'm going to get fired. I think when we go into a job, we have a very clear understanding of what our goal is. We have a clear understanding of what the expectations are. And I think when it comes to being an entrepreneur as well as a trader, because it's the same thing. When you're a trader, you're an entrepreneur, and you just have to accept that fact. So when you're an entrepreneur, you now have to hold that accountability, which means that you're the one that has to make sure that you get up in the morning and you get to work and you stay at work and you don't leave early and you get your job done. You don't have a boss threatening to fire you. You are that boss. And as far as I'm concerned, if you understand that and you put that expectation and mentality into it, that you treat it like a job, you treat it like you're the boss, and if you break those rules, you get fired. Would you do that in your job? Just follow your plan. Discipline is action. It's not a personality quirk. It is action. That is all it is. So if you say, I don't have discipline, well, you do have discipline. You just have discipline in the wrong thing. Or in a thing that you don't want. You want to have discipline in something different. So just do it. You need to set that mindset. You need to set that expectation. You have to have that goal in mind and have a plan on how you're going to get there. And then just execute it. The other thing that I want to say, as far as not being able to follow your plan, it could also be because you don't trust your plan. So take the time, do that due diligence, test your plan, backtrade your plan, practice your plan, make sure that it works. And when you see that it works, you'll trust your plan. Now that ties into, what Edward's asking. How long did it take you guys to get hold of your fear? To be honest with you, my fear disappeared probably after about a year of trading. That doesn't mean that I don't experience fear every once in a while. It depends on how I'm doing and if I experience a couple losses in a row and how the rest of my life is going, because you can't get rid of it altogether. But I definitely have a huge control over it now. I trust my plan. I have an R that I can live with, that I don't have a problem losing, and it just comes with exposure. But I had to test my plan, trust my plan, and that really, really, really took my fear and got rid of it for me, so that it cleared a path for me to start trading like as a successful trader. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, so oddly enough, it was like I think almost my entire life I was probably fearful of everything, right? So it was like, because you everybody tells you, like, for some reason, everybody's more negative than positive, I feel like, right? So they're like, if you do this, it's not going to work. Or what if that doesn't work? Or because they're just kind of projecting their own kind of fears out there. And then you tend to absorb it. You tend to absorb what's around you. You're like a pincushion, just taking it all in. And you're like, yeah, you know what? I never even thought of that. It's weird. If you're at a younger age and you're like, I got nothing to lose, you try something different. And if it works out, great. If not, oh, well, figure something else out. But somewhere along the line, as we get older and more mature, things that weren't really that important to us prior now become more important. So for me, it was, I had a good friend. He actually came from Peru, and came to the US. He had nothing. He got a job over in Starbucks, and he was doing that for a while. And I met him as he was still working, but he was transitioning to kind of owning his own business. And we were in the car one day, and he goes, I'm sitting there, and I had my own business at the time, and I'm like, oh man, I got to make sure we got this kind of revenue coming in, and this. And he's like, yeah, man, if this whole thing doesn't work out for me, I could always go back to Starbucks. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Why is everybody so fearful all the time? Like, try something, get used to it. And that one sentiment for me, and it had nothing to do with trading, but I kind of took that into the trading world, just because. What do you that one sentence to me changed my mindset from scarcity to abundance. And now I'm able to be in the market. And anytime I start to get like, man, what if this doesn't work? I that kind of pops in my head, and I'm like, there's always something else. Like, there's always another trade I could take. I could take a swing trade on it if I still really like it. There's always something else out there. It just because like the fear comes from like the zero sum game. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And life is over, and you have that fear of it not working. Once you kind of understand the concept of, you know what, if it doesn't work, there's other options. Like, life is long. There's a lot of different things that could go on, and a risk is appropriate. So what are you really worried about? And that's the mindset for me that really kind of changed things.
Yeah, it's funny because when you say that, I just became very conscious of that thought popping into my head. What's the worst that can happen? It happens to me all the time as well. I'll get into a trade. It starts not going my way. I feel that fear kind of start to bubble up. And I immediately tell myself, not out loud, it's just like I remember it being said in my head. It's like, well, what's the worst that can happen? I lose. Big deal.
Right.
I'll try another time. Right. So
you got to lose on some trades. Right.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's a learning experience. Okay. And then immediately my mind shifts gear. Okay. What did I do differently? What should I have done differently? And I immediately go into learning mode. So I go from, oh, well, I lost to, okay, let's capitalize on this opportunity now, and let's improve. Let's make myself more aware of what's going on. What did I miss? What can I learn later? And then the other thing, because Edward asked, is there anything you do to shrug it off? I wouldn't say, well, I would say that what we just talked about right now is what I would do to shrug it off. But the other thing is to deal with some of the other issues and expectations that we talked about, and make sure that you have a plan that you trust. So back trade it, practice it, have faith in it, and trust it. Know what your end goal is going to be, and then from there, you need to create some kind of word or something that can snap you out of it and get you thinking into some other direction. So maybe put a sticky note on your desk. I don't know. There's multiple things that you could do that would work for you. Only you're going to be the one that can tell what's going to be successful for you, because you know yourself the best, right? So what about you, Dan? Do you have any suggestions for that?
Yeah, I don't even get mad when I take the loss because I'm expecting it. I get more upset, feel like I missed out the opportunity when I saw the trade. Everything is there. It's robotic. Like, that's what I like. That's my setup. And I don't take it because I'm fearful of getting into the trade.
Yeah.
So I don't even mind taking the losses, but I even if a trade goes against me and I lose on it, the way I take it is, man, they got me on that one. That trade didn't work out. And if I could lose less than an R on the trade, that's a win for me. So, because again, the next trade, if I lose 0.7 R's on a trade, now I know, like, okay, cool. This is the setup. I'm down 0.7. It's only the first inning. I got the whole game ahead of me. So I could, my next goal, I just need a 1R win, and now I'm positive for the day again. So it's just all about using what you have in front of you and just being able to develop that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? These are points that you should probably think about now. Have a plan for them, so when they happen, you're not struggling at that time. You know what to do. And an example, like Dan, you just finished saying it. You fear sometimes getting into a trade, and unfortunately, that's all we got for today. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, if you guys don't mind, hit that like button, subscribe to the Real Life Trading channel for other additional education. Log into our website, www.reallifetrading.com. Free education, 100% free to learn the stock market and trade live. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Tracy. Another fantastic hangout with you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.